Okay, so this is, we're going to work through the document so everybody understands the difference between PEG and ECAT. That's all right?
Good night, everybody. I gotta go.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep on it, or keep off them.
So,
Good job.
just, and Reggie, you may have all these numbers in your head, and Tim may have some of them as well. My intent here was, again, when Greg was here from ECAT, he was talking a lot about television programming and a wide variety of things, and I came away from that thinking that, frankly, this is not meant as criticism, but there was some, I think we can get a little more clarity around what it really means with respect to PEG, right, which is public, educational, and government, and that's a federal thing, and charter, as a result of being a provider, has to comply with those PEG grants in quotes. They're technically not grants because the money is actually coming back from the individual subscribers to charter's system. ECAT, on the other hand, is an acronym that stands for East Hampton Community Access Television, and their employee is Tim, one of their employees right over there.
East Hampton.
Community Action Television.
Access.
Excuse me, Community Access Television. Sorry.
Television.
So what I wanted to do was just, again, we have been voting on this and considering this, and there's also been discussion about what we may or may not have voted on last year when Diana was here and or agreed to with ECAT. So what I'd like to do is just go through these lines so everybody will have hopefully a pretty clear understanding of what we've done and what we still need to do with respect to all of this. So first one is we purchased equipment and audio and video from the funds that we had from the charter PEG. I have grant in quotes. And does anybody remember the cost of that? Tim, do you remember? Is it $17,000? The cost? 12,500?
I really don't think it was 17,000. We don't have that much equipment here. I can't give you an accurate number. If you guys would have told me before, I could have prepared something to show you.
That's all right.
Sorry about
Okay.
that.
So I have a question. That's fine. So these are questions that we still need to get answers
I
to.
believe it's significantly less than that, though, because I think that would have eaten up everything you have and then some.
I think some reason it's 6,000 or 8,000. Is that
Yeah, 17 seems way.
Okay.
I kind of remember something like
6
6
to 8,
or
something in there?
Okay. And then there were some funds during the 10-year contract with Charter, not the 5-year that we're under now, but the 10-year. It was,
There was 30,000.
There's 30 is what comes to my mind,
In that
too.
line item, but I don't know what was coming out of it. We can get the details with the accounting office.
okay. And then we had the audio installed. That was by contract.
When you're saying audio, you mean these cameras, or is this something else that you're talking about?
Tim, that was the microphone.
Oh, the microphones.
It'd be the microphone snake box there.
Right.
That connects all the microphones.
Okay,
to the
yeah.
switcher.
Okay, and then the next line, the video robotic cameras are at the town hall, and as of tonight, they're operational. So we don't need that next line, nor the next line. But we now have the capacity to record other meetings such as Conservation Commission and Planning Board.
Good.
And then we can also use volunteers to operate the switches for the cameras, and we could use Tim for other things. Tim is over there obviously operating the switches now. And we now pay Tim whatever it is that
120 a meeting.
120 per meeting, okay. Now, we now have, we signed a 5-year contract with Charter, which is in force and effect now. So this provides, again, another grant, again, granted quotes, and that one I think is
The
25,000.
5 years, 25,000, right, 5,000 each year.
Okay, and this adds, I think it was 74 cents,
I don't know.
something like
Something
that.
like that.
Did
Okay.
you say 21?
Yeah, I thought I saw 21.
And then we have to find out if Charter has given us the grant, and yes, the check has arrived, to the
Yes.
best of my knowledge.
Yes.
Okay, so that's really where we are with respect to public, educational, and government PEG situation. Separate from that, but related to it, is the East Hampton Community Access Television, and Greg was in a couple of weeks ago to talk about that. But he was kind of mixing the two, so I wanted to get it clear. And my understanding is that the funds for this, should we decide to work with ECAT, can come from this existing grant, in quotes, that we have.
Well, it comes from the PEG line, the Public
PEG line,
Educational
right.
Government Access Line. Items that we pay Tim out of for recording the meeting, or items, whatever, if you choose to go with ECAP with the additional services would also come out of that PEG line.
Right, yeah. So there's one line called PEG.
Just one line, right.
Right,
But
so-
we would fund those multiple.
Right, exactly. So that was my whole point, Tim.
And if I may, that, as far as I know, that line, the PEG, can only be spent on a limited amount of topics. Pretty much that's it.
Right.
So it's either you use it or you just keep it, and it's no good for you. You can't use it to pay your municipal employees or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
Just one big thing I wanted to let you guys know.
But we can use it to hire you and or other people to train people how to make videos.
That's right.
That was what Greg was talking about
Yep.
the other night.
Because it's not a municipal employee. If you'd be paying us, we're a 501c3 nonprofit.
Right.
So it switches everything
Mhm.
around.
Okay. So that's the point that I wanted to bring up to the board, so everybody had a common understanding of these two separate but related things, elements, whatevers.
Thank you. That's
Any questions beyond that? That's all that I had.
Well, I would like to comment, ask Tim. Tim, if a kid from Hampshire Regional wanted to make, say, a video, educational video, could they contact you from the Hampshire Regional because, you know, our kids go to that school, or does it have to be Willoughby North just in Southampton?
No, I mean, even though we are deemed East Hampton Community Access Television, you can come to us and use our equipment, but that comes at a fee because you aren't residents of our town. And, you know, you go through a couple of workshops, we teach you how to use the equipment, you make your video, and we help you edit it, and eventually you become pretty proficient in the craft. And I guess the whole thing about joining us would be, you know, he went through it before. We're gonna, you know, you get a lot instead of having to get everything on your own, and we already have everything set up to do these things. So that would, I don't feel.
That was the 17,000, it was the server that Greg was talking about.
Yeah,
We would have
that-
to get.
You would have to, unless you decided to
Right.
join with us or put out a bid and
Right.
see if anybody else was interested. Because that's a big component right there. I mean, 17,000 is a lot of money
Right.
versus, you know, maybe, I don't know what it is, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 to have a permanent space on our server with everything you need.
Okay. So what the board has under consideration right now is the possibility of merging with ECAT to have access to this service and be able to pay for it through the PEG funds. Now, there is another organization in Chicopee. We have a hard line with Charter to Chicopee as well, so we could talk with them if the board so chooses to do that too.
Did we decide whether or not there was a demand for this service?
That was one of the things that you had brought up, and we haven't done that yet.
The question becomes, how do we determine whether there's a demand for the service?
You can put a survey on the website, you can put a survey on Channel 5 and have folks go to the website. SurveyMonkey will do the calculation.
Have something go to all the committees in town and see if they're interested in some kind of
In the schools.
Yeah, kids.
recruitment and
Okay.
things.
Sir?
And one thing I may say is that in addition to doing the survey, one thing you might want to do is contact me to get a copy of all the full-length features I've done on Southampton. So that way, if anybody asks, they can watch them and get a taste for what PEG really is by seeing it themselves, rather than just, you know, envisioning it in their head.
Absolutely, it's a good idea to have a little, can we in any way post those on the website?
Yeah, I can do that. I'd have to get permission, obviously, from the powers that be.
And I would have to ask John Fitzpatrick if that's appropriate to do or not to
That's
do.
certainly
but
a
yeah.
possibility to let people know what they might be getting if should they decide.
Or the link on, maybe the link to your site.
Exactly. I mean,
Why
it
not?
could be uploaded to its own blog
Okay.
regarding this topic, but like I say, you have to speak with my boss to make sure that's okay to do.
Okay.
Tim, did you say videos that you've made of Southampton?
Oh, yeah.
For example?
I've done a special, all those clips you saw that when I presented them, those are all short clips of full-length programs.
The veterans,
Oh.
remember that
The
one?
Veterans Day, the Elton Braithwaite wood carving at Norris School, that's a full-length.
I think I might have missed that day.
We did a flood of Southampton, or flood of 55. We got Barry Searle and Crooked Ledge Band down at Conant Park. Celebrate Southampton, Sarah the Fiddler, list goes on.
Yeah, I wasn't here then.
And something I'd still like to bring up is that if we're going along that line is whether or not we have the town meetings out live or videotaped. We talked about that, and I know people have some said that it would discourage people from coming.
Right, it's an interesting thing.
But I almost think it would encourage people, because if they see people speaking from the floor and say, I don't agree, or I do agree, or...
Get in the car and drive down.
Well, not so much that time, but the next time, then, if you either speak up or lose your right to speak.
If I may, at present time, there is no way to go live from any other room or building except for this one, so it wouldn't discourage people from coming initially because they have to wait a couple days to see it. If I may.
Okay. All right,
But I mean, some of that money, the PEG money, could be spent on, because you'd have to bring equipment up there, right? You'd have to bring cameras and
Yeah.
everything up
And it
there.
could be done one of two ways, just me and one camera, or me and my associates with 4 cameras in our van, which is a mobile unit outside the place of,
But I would like the board to consider whether or not, if we could not increase community participation, certainly information, community information, by having that.
Sure. That might be part of the survey then. I don't know. You want to ask somebody, would you go to a town meeting if you could see it on television? I don't know.
Or would you like to be informed about your town government through videotaping of?
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like we need to go out with a survey as the next step then.
Who's going to do it?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Good. That's all that I wanted to bring up, except for one other thing too. I did see an email through that we had a request, an inquiry from a guy about possibly becoming a member of the Greenway Committee. But the Greenway Committee is fully staffed, and I had suggested that he might be able to become a non-voting member.
Do we have that kind of position on there?
We could create that.
He's real eager to.
From his letter,
Sure.
it seemed like it. And they have been having a little bit of trouble with attendance at those.
I don't see why
They
not.
have a meeting right, they have a meeting now, actually.
If he's willing to be a non-voting member.
So we would need to change the charter of that.
And if you change it, then we would have to post it again for 2 weeks, make it fair for folks who may want to be non-voting
And
members.
I'm not trying to exclude the guy, but what does becoming a non-voting member do other than he can go attend the meeting as a member of the public?
Okay.
I'm.
Well,
Well,
I was making
contribute
an
and
individual
plan.
evaluation of the guy's credentials. He brings some good
He
credentials.
did have good credentials.
Planning, yeah.
Or do we just say to him, we'd like you to participate in the committee or in meetings until there's an opening, and we'll be glad to consider you then?
That would work too. I like that. Yeah.
Participate just as,
Anybody can go, they're open meetings.
They're open meetings, so go to the meeting, and as soon as there's an opening, we would consider you as the next replacement.
Even better. Slicker. Okay, that's all I had.
Move to adjourn.
Anything else? One more time, open time for the public?
Okay.
They can, no. We need a motion then to dissolve.
I move to dissolve.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.